Welcome to another one of my 90-second book summaries where I attempt to condense the key points and messages in this book. This is to help you decide if this is a book you would like to explore further, but also to help me retain the knowledge as I continue my reading one book per week program. This week's book is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Now, right off the bat, this is an amazing book. I'm so glad it was recommended to me, and I'm very grateful for that. If you want to cut the rest of this summary, just get the book. I can't think of a single person who wouldn't find value in it. It's impossible for me to do this text justice in 90 seconds or so I will focus on a small number of the key messages and the basic structure. So the key message for me is that in spite of the worst possible personal circumstances, we are able to choose how we will react, how we will conduct ourselves. What virtue or monstrosity we display in reaction to the circumstances in which we find ourselves is our choice. Frankl refers to people behaving as saints or swine in respect of people's choices in the camps, depending on how they chose to conduct themselves. The second key focus of this book is how we can find meaning in our own lives. Again, regardless of personal circumstances, and the development of Frankl's own school of psychotherapy, logotherapy. Logos is Greek for meaning. In the book, Frankl mercifully and deliberately spares us from the worst descriptions of life in the Nazi concentration camps. Whilst the text is still harrowing in places, Frankl chooses to focus his account on the ability of people to find meaning in the bleakest of circumstances. The tools used to meet this were by necessity extraordinarily simple, and we can learn from these in our own lives. Charity, giving away what little they had to meet the needs of another. Humour, often the darkest, but nevertheless Frankl flags it as critical to getting through extreme hardship, and I quote him, "A sense of humour is a trick learned whilst mastering the art of living." Taking pride in and focus on the labour performed, which at first thought seems incredibly perverse considering the circumstances. Finding joy in the briefest respites of labour, the prisoners were able to put on shows to entertain themselves while not working. Choosing to behave with dignity and strength of character in the face of extreme suffering. Frankl recounts, for example, that none of the prisoners reported on one of their fellows who had broken camp rules, despite all threats from the guards. Part 2 of the book focuses on logotherapy and its application against the existential angst, which Frankl saw as a plague for the young in the 20th century, and in my view is one of the key issues facing each new generation in the 21st century also. His work focuses on criticising any drive to what he describes as a tensionless state, i.e. lack of challenge, struggle or suffering, but that people only find meaning in struggling and striving for a worthwhile goal, which must be a freely chosen task. In the absence of identifying your personal worthwhile goal, you should contribute to others until such time as you find your path. A meaningful life can be obtained in 3 ways according to Frankl's work. 1. Creating a work or doing a deed, such as finding meaning and struggling and striving for a worthwhile goal. 2. Experiencing something or encountering someone. We can find meaning in life of another, i.e. through love. And thirdly, through our attitude to unavoidable suffering. The suffering must be unavoidable. Willfully suffering is masochistic and not beneficial to the person or those around them. It is these accounts of unavoidable suffering and how people rise up in defiance of or because of that tend to catch our attention and admiration. Whether it's survival of a concentration camp, abuse, a refugee, debilitating illness, disease or birth circumstances, a life-changing accident or incident. People whose lives should by all rights be shattered beyond recovery, yet, by the will to choose, the individual finds more meaning, more grace, more fulfillment than they ever thought possible. There are so many powerful quotes in this text, it's worth carrying with you. However, I will finish on this one. Everything can be taken from a man or a woman, but one thing. the last of human freedoms to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. Thank you for watching. I'll bring you a new summary next week.